Thank you, everybody. We just heard the budget address, and it's kind of a budget address that is not over the top. Obviously, we're going to go to $34.4 billion, and when the governor talks about certain things that I take from hearing this budget, he talks about that this budget has $2.2 billion less in discretionary than 2008. You got to take into account the $1.9 billion were from direct property tax relief that's no longer there to our taxpayers, that net the 20% that we have risen in the last 4 years. Now, he also talked about dusting off his toolkit. This legislature sent them the bills that has fiscal impact to the budget and that they would be of substantial impact. Other ones, he vetoed some of them. So we did what he had wanted at that time, things that matter, things that were of substance. He talks about the number of what it's costing for the pensions. We knew these numbers going in. That's why when we had talked about tax cuts, that's why it was problematic. We knew that these things were going to come here. The public employees have, put skin in the game. They actually are paying more. And right now, we need to let this work itself out, because if it does, it shows that the pension will be there for them. But we have to let it work. Now, you have to be honest and also talk about, we need to get revenues. And we can't keep growing a budget when you have more expenses without putting something into it. So I think that that's where the point is. You can't just say no one way to additional revenues and just look at it in a different way. You're not going to cut yourself out of this. And and looking back and rehashing again that this was from previous administration through 10 years, we get all that. We know that. But we have to move forward and keeping our eye on the ball and doing the right thing. The residents of New Jersey deserve, the programs we have for them, and they deserve relief. But we have to be honest. This is just the beginning today. Obviously, we only have, we're going to get the budget brief, and then we'll get it in detail, so we'll know a little bit further. But those are some of the highlights that I took from it. So I'm going to turn it over to Senator Sweeney so he can say a few words.
I was a little offended by the word entitlement. The pension's not an entitlement. It's something that people have paid into. And there was mismanagement over the years with the pension system. We all know that. But we fixed that back when we did the pension benefit overhaul. And employees are paying more. And if we stay the course, the pension system will be fine. It's not going to bankrupt us. What we're missing here is we haven't grown our economy. And that's the issue. In New York State, and people have heard me say this before, since 2008, they've recovered all their jobs from the recession, plus we recovered 45% of the jobs since the recession. We need to get people back to work. We need a plan to put people back to work. And that will fix your revenue problems. When more people are working, there are more tax dollars. We need to do a better job. We gave the governor a package of bills a couple years ago. He didn't like it. Vetoed it. We get it. Where's the plan? We had a horrible storm that hit here. Billions of federal dollars are sitting on the sidelines. That could put people back to work. The reality here is we got to do a better job. And calling out employees on entitlements, and no one fought with employees more than I did. They're doing their part and they're doing their share. So when the governor calls for further reforms, what we need to do is reform our economy, not the pension. The pension is where it needs to be and will retain its health as long as we stay the course. The governor's pension payment, we're going to look at the actuarial tables to make sure that it is the appropriate payment. I'm glad we're not that far off, and I'm very happy that he's making it. But saying it's going to get tough, we knew that when we signed the bill. We can grow out of this problem and realize when I talk about other states have grown beyond. We have enormous potentials for growth, and that's what we have to focus on, getting people back to work. Majority Leader? Ladies first. Here, we'll get you up there, Loretta.
Thank you very much. I have to join with what our Senate President said. The problems we have are the problems of our economy. The fact that we need to grow jobs in the state of New Jersey, and grow revenues that come along with that. Pension and health benefits, our employees have been paying into that pension and health benefit. It's the public employers that for a few years, whether we're talking about state, local, or county employers who were not paying their fair share, and that's what pension and health benefits was all about. And I'm glad that we got to this stage under the leadership of our Senate President and with bipartisan support. We have to grow this economy. We've given lots of tax breaks to very large corporations to move from one city in New Jersey to the other. I want to see jobs coming out of these programs, and until we do that, the budget problems will remain as serious as they are today.
Thank you. I think you're going to hear a common theme here today. I will tell you this, I appreciated the governor's tone today. It was conciliatory, and it was certainly an effort to work together. When we talk, though, about the pension health care reforms and the sacrifices that so many people made, it can't help but remind me, after we just had our first Super Bowl in New Jersey, that we're kind of resting on the laurels of the Super Bowl we won 5 years ago, as opposed to moving forward. The reality is that pension system took a lot of hard work from the people that are standing before you today in a bipartisan fashion to fix something that was broken and on the verge of bankruptcy. But we knew then, when we insisted that we phase in these payments, that it was going to get more difficult to make the payments. We also knew we couldn't afford to make those payments in year one, and that there would have to be a phase-in period, but that phase-in period would be part of paying for the sins of the past. Ladies and gentlemen, we can tell you every payment for the next 25 years and beyond. We know what the payments are. We also know that we've asked the public workers to pay more in order to make that pension sustainable. As we stand here today, the pension numbers that the governor references are based on not having gotten the full funding yet, but as we progress forward, make those payments, we know a number of things. One is the pension is fine, and it will be solvent, and it will be there for the retirements of the people that dedicated their lives to public service for the people of New Jersey. We also know what those payments will be. And finally, most importantly, if we do what is responsible, we know in the years to come that those pension payments actually go down. Now, they go down in someone's future administration, not this one, but we said that we were going to make the tough decisions to solve the problems. Those were the decisions that were made. The governor's right. We cannot tax our way out of this problem. But I also don't know that of a $4 billion pension payment that looms in the future, $2.25 billion today, how much are you going to get out of reforms asking people that we've already asked to pay more? How much are you going to move the needle on asking them to reform it further when it's not necessary and the pension is safe? It sounds to me more of a gimmick to move us out of what the real crisis is, which is that we have failed to grow our economy because the governor has rejected job growth bills. We've failed to address the real problem that this state faces, which was not his election year proposal of an income tax cut, that where would we be today if that had passed and how would we afford it, but more importantly, a failure to address true property tax reform and the underlying current that keeps our economy in the doldrums compared to our neighboring states. There are a couple of things the governor said today that I think are of merit and that we're very proud of and happy to work with him. His investment in pre-K programs and early education, critically important. I'm glad to see that he has changed his position from the campaign where he called that advanced babysitting to recognizing the importance of what that means for education reform. And as he has been committed to since the beginning of his term, something that we in the Democratic Party have supported is his investment in drug rehab and the opportunity of second chances for people as they come out of prison and come back into the workforce. They are our neighbors, they are our family members, they are people that we know. Ladies and gentlemen, what should be concerning to everybody here is that, as he says, the pension, health care, and benefit costs are 94% of the budget. Those are responsibilities that we have made. When the governor talks about the failure to address the needs of our citizens going forward, you will also have to recognize the needs for their future and their retirement. How are they different than the needs and the future of the retirements of the people that dedicated their lives to public service and where we are today? If we're going to build the future and the needs of the residents that we represent, my children, some of our grandchildren, the reality is that that is going to have to be addressed squarely upon getting off the addiction to property taxes at the local level, free up our money, grow our economy as the Senate President has talked about, grow our economy by creating working class jobs again, as the speaker has advocated on vocational training, and build our economy from the ground up, not from the top down. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Majority Leader. As I was walking off the floor, I was handed our budget summary, and I see my colleague also has a copy. And as budget chairs, we look forward to beginning to dive into this document and the larger budget document to get into the details of this budget. As always, you've heard this before from me, I'm always concerned about overly optimistic revenues, and it seems that we compound the problem year in and year out. And clearly, and I don't want to repeat time and time again what you've heard from my colleagues, but clearly when we did pension and health benefit reforms and put a larger burden on the employees, we needed to begin to plan for this. We realized what the phase-in payments, the smoothing process as they call it, what those payments would be. And you need to raise revenues to make those payments. So to sit here in year 5 and say we're concerned about how we're going to make those payments, well, we need to do a better job. We need to grow the economy. I agree. I don't want to tax my way out of this situation. Then the alternative is to grow the economy, find a way to grow the economy, because we made a commitment. Our credibility, the governor's credit, we're all in this together. It was a 7-year payment plan, and we have to fulfill that payment plan. When you get to the 7th year, as you go on to your 8th year, things will get better. If you listen to the actuaries and you listen to those who study pensions, it will get better in years 8 and years 9. We have a program in place. Let's follow the program. So as I go through these details, I'm going to be looking at the revenue projections. I still want to know about how we're covering the current shortfall. Of course, there's a lot of details on how we're going to cover the current revenue shortfall. And of course, the revenue projections for next year's budget. Are they realistic? So those are some of the things we'll be looking at, and it's a lot of work ahead of us. There's no need to be confrontational today. There'll be plenty of time if we need to in the future at budget hearings. But today, I appreciate the governor's tone today. It wasn't confrontational with us, and we're going to hopefully be able to work to negotiate a budget. We're not looking to stick a budget on his desk. We're hopefully going to have a negotiated process throughout the next couple of months. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I get to wrap up. Just to reaffirm the many comments that have been made in terms of building the economy, which is ultimately the way in which New Jersey can get out of the situation that it's in. One thing that the Speaker had mentioned, as well as the Assembly Majority Leader, is with so much of what we've heard today, it makes one almost, what's the expression, deja vu all over again. So many of the systemic problems which New Jersey faced 5 years ago, one might only wonder how many of them have truly been solved, how many have been addressed versus how many have been solved. There is so much work that is ahead of us. I think the governor's comments in terms of his interest in working in a bipartisan way, a joint way with Democrats and Republicans in order to achieve the results that we need to achieve through our budget hearings will be helpful to us, will clarify. The issue then becomes how we can achieve the kind of compromise necessary in order to indeed provide not only a balanced budget, but a budget that's designed to fit our needs and meet New Jersey's concerns and future interests in the future years and not only the next 6 months.